Stephen.
The unanticipated revenue, that's a firm figure there's no play in it. Is that correct?
No, that is from our finance department. That is based on their estimates, which includes estimated tax revenues from the appraisal district. And so that number is usually pretty close. But throughout the year and towards the end of the year, they will adjust that based on actual tax receipts,
Right.
And those sorts of things. So it's usually within a few $1,000s, but it could vary throughout the year.
Okay, in your opinion, it's conservative, usable figure.
Yes, we have not had a problem in years past using that number.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you that when we get to looking at projects and grant requests and funding those, we always recommend leaving a little buffer of at least a few $1,000s just in case. So we don't like to see you guys spend every last penny. But yeah, as long as we leave a buffer of maybe $5,000, we feel comfortable with that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, good question, Steve. Thank you. Okay, let's have a motion to accept this finance report.
So moved.
Have a motion to accept the finance report. Do we have a second?
Second. John
We
Mark.
we have a second. All any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Finance report is accepted. Okay, item number 6, discussion and possible action on a potential Martin Luther King Drive sidewalk project.
Thank you. That's me again. This one we talked about a few months ago, maybe back in the summer. And so we're bringing it back to you now that we have more information from our engineering department with some cost estimates and a little bit more information on the design. So basically it would be a sidewalk near the proposed transit bus stop that they're putting in at 18th and MLK. As part of that bus stop, they are just constructing the bus stop itself with a small concrete pad in front of it, but there will be no sidewalks connecting it to the adjacent properties. And so what we're proposing is connecting that bus stop and basically a sidewalk for about 2 blocks on MLK from North 17th to North 19th. I had mentioned in the financial report that we have that $103,000 available in the north that specifically has to go to public improvements like sidewalks, street lights, other street kinds of things. And so we're recommending using a portion of that $103,000 for this project. Our engineering department has the plans at about 90%, so they're close to having plans that are ready to be constructed. They've done a cost estimate and are recommending a not to exceed cost amount of about $70,000. They actually think it'll come in at less than that, but there's still some ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act design issues that could push that cost up a little bit. So they're estimating about $60,000, but they ask us to ask for a not to exceed of $70,000 just for some contingency there. So let me go briefly through a few pictures. Here's the project location. Again, it's on MLK between 17th and 19th. And it will just be on one side of the street where that bus stop will be located, which is the east side of the street. Just a few pictures. Here's the 19th Street at MLK. You can see that there are sidewalks that exist to the north of 19th on MLK, and they've got the curb ramps there at fully on all 4 corners of the intersection. So this would be tying into those curb ramps already at the corner off to the bottom right of your picture there and just extending that sidewalk. And now here's from the exact same spot, just looking the other direction. So that sidewalk will run against the left side of the street there. And you can kind of see a little worn path there that shows that we do have people walking in this area in the neighborhood. And so this would be beneficial, not just for the bus stop, but for general neighborhood use as well. And here's going about a block down the street, again, looking back north, and you can see to the right that worn path again. And then again, looking at the other direction from 17th, just to the left there near that Gethsemane sign is that general area behind that is where the bus stop will be located. And then the sidewalk will continue left down that street. And then I'm going to zoom one more time. This is to the alley mid-block, and you can see that there's already a sidewalk for about half of that block. So we're tying into that existing sidewalk and basically closing a gap of about 2 blocks there on MLK.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Again, our request for the board is to, if you're ready to authorize up to $70,000 funding for this sidewalk project.
Okay. Do we have, let me entertain a motion to approve this project not to exceed $70,000. If we get a second, then we'll have a discussion if you want to. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
I'll second.
You're going back to office.
Okay. We have a second. All right. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a couple of questions.
All
John,
right.
how far is the sidewalk? Is it 3 foot?
No, typically our sidewalks are 4 foot as a minimum. Sometimes in commercial areas, they would typically be 5 feet wide. I think in this area, we would be looking at a residential sidewalk of 4 feet wide.
Okay, good.
Good.
I assume it's going to have a crushed limestone base, and it's going to be engineered that way. And that's the reason for the cost. And you got at least a 3-inch pour, is that right? 3-inch thick pour?
You know, I would have to defer to our engineering staff on that, but
That's all right. That's
it does follow the city's guidelines for all new sidewalks.
standard city sidewalk specs. Okay.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you, Steve, for those questions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Let it be done. All right. Number 7 on the agenda, potential 4th Street project. Update on that.
Yeah, this is a project that came up again back in the summer. We had a question about 4th Street, basically there between Chadburn and MLK, and just a question about improving that street. It's not in great shape. And the short answer for today is we're still working on that. About half of that street is actually not public right-of-way. It's owned by TxDOT. And so our real estate office here at the city is in conversations with TxDOT about possibly purchasing that right-of-way. Our operations staff has looked at that, and what they would recommend if we move forward with the project is replacing the asphalt completely with a concrete street, given the volume of truck traffic that's on that street. But they're not, you know, they would not move forward until we can resolve, or if we can resolve some of those property issues to ensure that we've got actual public right-of-way for the full length of that street. And then if we can work that out, they would look at moving forward with a street project. It wouldn't be high up on the city's list of capital improvement projects. So if the board is interested, once we get down the road and work out some of these issues, it would probably take the board authorizing at least some funding in order to move this project forward, if that's something that you all would like to do. But again, we're not asking for any decision today. It's just an update, and we will try to bring it back to you for more discussion and consideration if we're able to work out some of these property issues with TxDOT. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I got a couple.
Go ahead, Steve.
Has the city attorney's office researched it as far as that street and being open on the ground by prescription rights?
Yes, I think the short answer is that's, in fact, our real estate group folks are within the city attorney's office, and they have looked at this. I think they're pretty confident that having a public street there, it's they don't, you know, it's not like TxDOT could come in and make us close that street. But at the same time, we're hesitant to do major work improving that street while it isn't either owned by the city or at least dedicated public right-of-way. And so again, before moving forward with the project, we'd like to get some of those issues worked out. And I think our preference would be to actually purchase that right-of-way from the state at least on either side of the road. The way it ended up that way, it was originally owned as part of the railroad right of way. And then it's not uncommon in cities historically for a road to be constructed right adjacent to the railroad or close. But when the railroad, parts of the railroad property got deeded back to TxDOT, some of those portions of that road were included in that land that was deeded back to them. So we just have to work those issues out.
Are you saying that the railroad owns it or the state of Texas owns it?
Well, the state of Texas owns it because they, at some point in the past, acquired or somehow got
They got all the
railroad property.
That's right. Have y'all talked, has the city attorney's office talked to Darby about getting that land deeded back to the city from the state? That could be a real simple issue.
Well, no, I don't believe we've raised it to that level yet. I think at this point, we're waiting to hear back from TxDOT. If TxDOT tells us no, then that might be the next step to take.
Yeah.
But since they haven't told us no yet, of course, they haven't told us yes either. We want to keep working with them until we get some sort of answer.
Maybe TxDOT would, instead of deeding it to you, might grant you an easement for right of way and street purposes. That's something you might want to pursue.
Yes, and that's an option, and I know that's one of the things our real estate office has mentioned to TxDOT as multiple options, including us just purchasing it or them granting a right of way or easement over that. Again, at this point, we're just waiting to hear back from TxDOT.
I really think it should be pursued because we spent a lot of money on 4th Street and we got a dog of a street. It's a cluster mess.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Stephen. You know, it's hard to drive up and down that street, and we do have money invested in a project there. So I'd like to see it done.
Sure. And like I said, we'll continue to follow up on that and hopefully get an answer from TxDOT soon.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, item number 8. And Shannon, I guess this is your discussion and possible action regarding the first incentive award cycle for 2021.
Yes, sir. So I will begin sharing my screen. Okay, can y'all see that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as y'all probably recall, for the last couple of years, probably the last 2 or 3 years, about this time of year, we come to you all and ask or actually recommend for the next open window cycle. Now, as John stated, for the first time in many years, this is actually the first year that we've got some extra funding in the South zone. So typically we come to y'all and ask for a north cycle to open up around April and close in July. But this time we're actually asking for both a north and a south cycle to follow that, the typical dates that we've done in the past. Again, opening up in April, closing at June 1st, submitting the applications to the board in June, and then final recommendations to City Council in July. So just for some reference, we're looking at about a 1.4 million surplus this year in the north with the applications that were submitted, and then the difference between what we're recommending and then what we'll have left over. And as far as the south, we're looking at about 128,000 that we have available in that zone. So we are recommending that we open up just based on some demand and conversations that I've had with future applicants that are interested in applying as early as April. So again, we're recommending this this timeline here for both the north and the south zone.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments about this request? All right, I'll hear a motion to adopt this. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All All right, thank you, Tony. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, so approved. All right, update on projects in progress, Shannon.
All right. So since our last meeting in August, we have had one project in the south that has been completed. So this is the before picture of One East Two partnership. And then here is the current photo after the improvements have been made. As you can tell, the one-story building there to the right was the portion that was added on, or the improvements were made to. And again, that is a law office. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on that particular project.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. And we'll just run through the list here of the projects in the South Zone that are currently underway. So we have 19 West Beauregard, which is Box Hangar 210, which is an engineering firm. We have 40 West Tuig, which is the Spur Building, 109 North Chadburn, which is Concho Venue, 123 North Chadburn, which is Buffalo Soldier Art Gallery, and 226 South Abe, which is Reina's Tacos. As far as
progress they're making on the Spur Building. I was over there a while ago and I hadn't seen much done.
I actually spoke to the applicant regarding another project of his. He owns the Dollar General over on North Chadburn, but we did not discuss the Spur Building. If you'd like, I can get an update from him and bring that back to you at the next TIRZ board meeting.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so as far as the projects in the North Zone, as you recall, over the past couple of window cycles, we did approve 2 projects for 124 West 4th Street. That's Twofold Journey Properties. There's also a project at 124 West 8th Street, which is also owned by Twofold Journey Properties. We have the Shine Bright Lube North, which is off of 2302 North Bryant. We have Big O Auto, which is at 2311 North Chadburn. And then we have a 2821 and a 2829 North Chadburn, which I will get into those 2 particular projects after we go over these, because I've got some comments to make on those. Also, we have the Dollar General, and then we have the Huddle House and the Kent Quick Travel Center, which both of those were approved at the last meeting.
Okay, Shannon, what work is being done on those last 2, the Huddle House and the Travel Center?
As far as I know, they're still kind of in the planning phase. John and Aaron, do y'all have any further updates on either of those projects?
I don't. I'll defer to Aaron if he has more information. I know they've gone through our process for building permits, but I actually don't know what the status of their construction is or if they've even started.
Yes, they are getting ready to file their plat and get started. They have all of their information approved through the city as well as TxDOT. And so they are working on getting their performance agreement together so they can file their plat, pull permits, and they look to start construction within the next 3 months.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, continue, Shannon. Or is that the end of your discussion?
That is all I have for the projects in progress, unless y'all have any more questions on any of these.
Any questions or comments by the board? All right, we'll move to item number 10.
Well, actually, let me get into a little bit deeper discussion. My apologies on the 2821 and 2829 North Chadburn. I just wanted to give y'all an update. As y'all recall, at the last board meeting, this was a project that had requested an additional extension for the end of the year. So they had to have everything done by December 31st of 20. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we stand. I guess I won't go through the whole entire timeline, but essentially their original contract was executed back in 17. The 2-year deadline approached and they were not complete. They did request an additional extension, which was granted. So they were to have everything again complete. Actually, it looks like by 12/20 of 20. So the most recent update that I have is I did receive an email from the applicant on December 16th stating that all of the improvements had been completed for both of the locations. In order for us to do the verification on our part that the improvements are made, there's stipulations in the contract that include, we have to have the proof of payment of expenditures, of course, so canceled checks, credit card receipts, things of that nature. That also has to include the 25% match in addition to what was approved for the funding amount. We have to have after pictures, and we have to have written certification that they have completed those improvements. So the last, as of today, the only thing that I have received to this point is the written verification of the improvements. I have not received the paid receipts or any after photos. So that's where we stand on that today.
Okay, Shannon, let me ask you this question. Do we actually go out and inspect the improvements?
We typically don't, that unless there's unless they're like in a historic corridor where we have to involve that department to go out and verify that they're in compliance with historic things like that. But typically in the north, since there's no historic rules or laws or anything like that, we typically just take their after pictures as proof that they have been completed. So in this particular case, we haven't sent anybody out. I can tell you that I've personally driven by there, and it does look like some improvements have been made, but we like to match up the after photos with what they've actually expended and paid for.
Well, I don't.
Need to do an inspection.
I agree. I just think that when we're putting money into a project, that it deserves a drive-by and a stop and open the door, look and see what's done, just to verify that the work was completed.
Right, and typically especially in this situation, since the work that was approved was all exterior, obviously it's easy to be able to go in or drive by and see the work that was complete. Most of the time we don't have interior improvements unless it's a fire sprinkler system or asbestos or something of that nature where we'd actually have to go inside. Yeah. But again, we typically we match the written certification with the receipts, proof of payment, along with the after photos, and that's how we verify the work that's been complete.
Do you have someone that's knowledgeable that can go in and inspect it and look and verify the improvements?
We could get one of the planners to go over there. That's typically what we would do for projects in the South Zone that have to adhere to the historic standards.
Take
So
your building inspector, take your city building inspector over there with the plans and let him check them off.
Yeah,
Right.
Hey Shannon, I was going to add that in some cases where they're doing work that requires building inspection or building permits and inspections, we will ensure that they've gotten the permits and that they've gotten their final inspections to ensure that the work was done to city code. And if it requires a certificate of occupancy, like for a new business, we can verify that was all taken care of as well.
Right.
Is this the one we said last, the motion, I believe you made it. And they said if they don't get it done, then it's gone. Now, if they're not complying, why don't we just totus metus no monputus, tell them it's all there is, ain't no more.
Well, and in this particular case, that's why the proof of payment is so important, because they could do the improvements, but if they haven't been paid for, then we have no verification to say, hey, we've done the improvements, but we haven't paid for them. So that's part of the contract, is that they do have to pay for them before we reimburse them the funds. In this particular case, if they continue to not be in compliance, we have paid the 10% of funding on each project up front. So we would have to go back and ask for the 10% for each of the projects. And I think each one is about $6,500 for each one, as far as the 10% that was paid up front.
Jim, I would be willing to make it in the form of motion to authorize the staff to take whatever personnel they need to verify the compliance with the contract and the building requirements. And if it is done, fine, sign off on it. If it's not, let's cancel and get out from under this damn thing.
Stephen, I agree with that. Are you making that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we have a motion before the board. Do we have a second?
Can I interject and ask a question? At some point, we need to verify that along that the improvements have been made, that they've actually been paid for as well.
That's correct.
That's correct. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Make that a part of your motion. Yes.
That's correct. That is correct.
And I know we haven't gotten to the discussion of the second yet, but would it be better to start with a notice of deficiency that they haven't provided as proof that it's been payment? And then once we receive that proof, then we can go verify it? Or if we don't receive it, then we just cancel the contract.
So the way
Well, you're the lawyer. You tell me what's appropriate, John Moore.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah. What do we do, John Mark?
well, I was just thinking about if they don't ever produce the information that it's been paid, then they haven't fulfilled their obligations under the agreement, and we can just cancel the contract and demand our money back. If they do show us proof that it's been paid, then I think that's when you can go visibly inspect. I just don't want to waste anybody's time going to visibly inspect something that if we still don't get the proof, then we're going to cancel the contract anyway. I was just thinking about it in steps.
But we haven't paid any money out, have we, John Mark?
Don't we give 10%?
Yes, sir. So we have paid the 10%. And it is important to note that we did send a letter of default the
Okay.
first go round when they had not completed it within the timeline. And that states, as you'll see here on bullet number 5, they had 30 days to either cure it by completing the project or requesting an extension. So they did request that additional extension, which was approved.
Yeah.
And I believe that the board's motion at the last meeting was, again, if they had not completed it by this date, that we would basically have to go after and retrieve those 10% funds. So I think the next step would be to send another termination letter asking for collection of those funds. But I can certainly work with our legal department on what those next steps would be if that's what y'all would like to pursue.
Well, the motion that was made at the last meeting, they had to be complete by a certain date.
By 12/20.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Of what a simple inspection would verify or deny that those improvements were or were not completed. So I think you ought to just stick with the original motion, go inspect it. If it's done, then follow through. If they're not, then cancel them. Let's go on down the road. Just get rid of it.
I think the issue that we're facing is just getting proof of payment from them. They haven't sent any kind of proof that they've actually paid for the improvements that have been done. So that's where the time is going into it, to constantly follow up and reach out to try to get that component of the verification.
Hey, Shannon and board members, my name is Brandon Dice. I'm the assistant city attorney. I just had a question. I'm kind of filling in, so not as familiar with this board, but was the motion at the last meeting to pursue termination of the contract if they didn't get that information in? Because I'm just concerned about making a motion to do anything on this one if this is just an update and discussion item. I mean, I know we've sent the notice of default and we may need to pursue that and get to that point. I want to make sure it's actually an action item and we don't need to bring that back as a separate thing later.
As far as I remember, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the action item at the last meeting, was to terminate it if they had not completed it by the end of year 2020.
That's correct.
So if that's what's happened, and we've sent the notice of default, I mean, I'll have to go back and look at the contract, but I mean, if we've already had the authorization from this board to do that, then maybe the next step is just to send the notice of termination and pursue getting that 10% back under the agreement. So
Yeah, I would agree with that, Brandon. Given the motion last time, I don't think a new motion is necessary. And like you said, I don't think this is posted as an action item, so that's probably not possible today anyway. But I think we're covered.
One last question. Is that notice certified that someone's actually receiving that mail? It
We
is
do,
certified?
yes, ma'am, we do send it certified mail.
Okay, cool.
My question is, how do we move on from this? And we want to do the legal right thing. We made a motion to get this done by December, but we can't get him to follow up and do what he said he's supposed to do. So how do we move on?
Brandon, do you
question.
have an answer to that?
Well, again, I mean, I'll look back at what the agreement says and our notice of default. I mean, if he didn't cure it within that time, then I think the next step is we send him a notice saying we're terminating the agreement because you haven't cured the default. Demand the 10% back. Maybe give them a reasonable time deadline to do that, and if they haven't, probably pursue the small claims case. I think y'all said it was like $6,500, and try and pursue getting those funds back. So,
How much time does he have to, I mean, he was supposed to have it all done by December 20th. Does that include the paperwork, or how long does he get on the paperwork to do?
Well, again, based on the email that I received on December 16th, that's really the deadline that I was going off of. And again, I replied to his email that day stating, here's exactly what we need. In addition to your written verification that you've completed the improvements, we also need the proof of payment of the expenditures as well as the after photos. And to this date, today, I have not received those remaining 2 items.
And so how long does he have to respond to that? Because he hasn't responded in over 30 days. So when do we end it?
Yeah.
When do we leave it open? How long do we leave that open? When do we end it? It's been 40 days.
if the board in fact made a motion to terminate it at the last meeting, I think we'll have the authorization to do that, and that's what I'm saying is we'll send it.
Brandon, I think you've already got the authorization by the motion that's passed by this board in the last meeting. If the guy-
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying then. If we have that, then we can go act on that authorization, terminate it, and see getting those funds back.
Okay. Well, let's pursue that then. We'll just turn it over to you to do what you need to do to follow up on our extension that we granted back in December,
And Jim, would
back
you
in August.
get the staff to, once they make a determination of what has been done or not done or going to be done, just inform us by email what that dispensation was.
Yeah, that'd be fine if you do that, Shannon.
Just follow up with y'all as far as when the letters have been mailed, the termination letters, all that.
Yeah, just update us on the disposition of this
Whatever
matter.
you gotta do, turn it over to legal and tell them, get after it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Shannon, on progress report?
That is it.
All right, you're still up. We're item number 10. Discussion and action on the last incentive award cycle.
Okay, so we will start with the north projects. We did receive 3 projects in the north zone, one from 1212 North Chadbourn, one from 1218 North Chadbourn, and then one from 2218 MLK, which is Franco's Cafe. As you can see, they requested each project the full amount of the $75,000. So for total incentives requested at $225,000. And as John stated in his financial report, we've got about $1.6 million in North funds. So if y'all would like, I will go over each project individually, and it looks like each of the applicants that submitted projects are on the call. So if y'all have any further questions for them.
Okay. Go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so first project's going to be at 1212 North Chadbourn. Again, they're asking for the full $75,000 with a match of a little over $47,000. So that fulfills the minimum 25%. Actually, it's 39% of the total cost, which is $122,816.50. As far as what they're looking to do, they're looking to demo an existing structure and construct a new 30 by 40 building, as well as new fencing for outside storage screening, the removal and disposal of existing concrete, and pouring a new concrete slab, as well as new signage and landscaping. And their project criteria meets 8 of the 14. So here are some current photos of the building.
Okay.
Have some interior photos as well. And then here are the after renderings. So 1212 and 1218 are related. So you'll notice in the pictures here in the after renderings that we'll have the rendering for both 1212 and 1218 on the same rendering there. So as you can see, this one is going to be a tire shop. Any questions? And I know Christine Lucky, who is the applicant for both of these projects, is on the call. So if you have any questions for her, we'd both be happy to answer any that you may have.
Okay, any questions? Shannon, we're gonna run through all of these and then you'll tell us what your recommendation is. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go next one.
Okay, so this one is at 1218 North Chadbourn. Again, they're requesting funding in the amount of $75,000 with the 37% match of a little over $44,000 and a total project cost of $119,816 and 50 cents. Again, the summary of work is similar to that of the project at 1212 North Chadbourn. They do plan on demolishing the existing structure that's there currently and constructing a new 30 by 40 building, again, with new fencing for the outside storage screening and the removal and disposal of existing concrete so that they can pour a new concrete slab as well as new signage and landscaping. And here are the before photos of this project. And some interior shots.
Now, Shannon, at both of these locations, it's the same type of business, isn't that correct?
I believe, okay, so it looks like this is going to be a car service business, and then the other one was going to be a tire shop, I believe.
Shannon, you mentioned that, and each one of them is landscaping, but do you know what kind of landscaping they're talking about? Because you're going to have cars in and out of those bays. That's going to be difficult to, you know what they're talking about, landscaping?
Good question. Christine, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, I know he's wanting to put like on this corner building on 1218, he's wanting to put like trees along the side of the building where it hits 13th. There is like some brick, red brick, I guess that's in front of the building. I think they put that by the city on the ground. So he was wondering if y'all would approve us ripping that up and doing some
There's no sprinkler, there's no sprinkler system, sprinkler system, water system at all, right?
I'm sorry?
No water or sprinkler system involved, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like some red brick right in front of that building. He just said like if y'all approved us, possibly.
No greenery, just they're gonna do some brick pavers, okay? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, what was that again? I apologize.
I understand you, Christine. There's no greenery or landscaping. It's just brick pavers and by some design. Did I understand you correctly?
Yeah, there's some brick pavers like existing right now, and I believe it's like the work. It's old, and I believe it's on city property. So he wanted to know if y'all would approve us ripping that up and putting some landscaping on that.
That's up to.
Yeah, I think, let me jump in here. I think we would typically require that as part of a project like this, that the part of the public right of way,
I see them now.
it would be landscaped similar to the other projects that the TIRZ board has done up and down Chadbourn. And so that, we would have the sidewalk and some landscaping between the sidewalk and the building. So what we've done on similar projects in the past, if you all are comfortable with it, for some projects, we've asked them to bring back a landscaping plan to the board, but in others, the board has authorized staff to approve a landscaping plan as part of the project without it having to come back to the
Yeah,
board.
I apologize. The only thing that's stopping us from, I guess, doing any landscaping in the very front is just that there's those red brick pavers, like right where pretty much where landscaping would go, there's red brick there. So if we were able to take that up, and we would be able to provide some landscaping in the front.
Yeah, and I guess I would ask the board to defer to staff on that, because we'll have to research that a little. If it's some of the newer pavers that the TIRZ board has actually put in with the sidewalk project, then I would say we would not want those taken out.
Okay.
But if it's something older that kind of predated any of that, we could review that, but we would have to get some other folks to approve it if it's in the city right of way.
John, I'm personally comfortable with that, but I'm not comfortable with putting trees in if you don't have a way to water them. Are you gonna put a water system in on those bubblers or something like that for those trees? Those trees will just die if they're unwatered. They'll last a couple of years and they'll be stalks.
That's something that we could look at, that we typically review with just normal development. We review landscaping plans,
Okay.
and we work with property owners either to provide like an underground system, or to plant types of plants that are, xeriscaping type things that don't need as much water,
Yeah.
except
Yeah, you
maybe
could do
just
that.
for establishment. So
Even if they had an outside hydrant where they could physically water them, that's all, something.
right, and that's something I think we can look at if you authorize staff to approve a landscaping plan as part of your approval. We can work with them to make sure that it meets our standards for what we normally look at for landscaping.
Okay, I'm
All right,
comfortable.
let's do that. All right. Shannon,
Okay.
next project.
Next project, 2218 MLK, which is Franco's Cafe, requesting funding in the amount of $75,000 with a match of $47,944, or 39% of the overall cost, which is $122,944. So they are looking to do upgrades to the facade by installing new walls, doors, lighting, windows, new paint, a new roof, new signage, a new concrete foundation, a new service window and security system, ADA ramps and rails, as well as new paving. And this project meets 11 of the 14 criteria. So here are some current photos of the building as well as the parking lot.
Okay.
And we should have some more photos. Just taking a minute here. Okay. We have a couple more sets of current photos, just taking a minute here. Uh-oh. Let me go back to share my screen here. Having some issues here. Let's see. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. I lost my presentation.
All right.
John or Brian, do y'all happen to have the presentation pulled up for this portion? Well, mine's trying to reload here. Oh, let me try this.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. We have one more set of after photos. Can y'all see that still okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, I'm going to try to share my screen again.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Okay.
Well, Shannon, Mr. Pfluger can probably answer this question. For all the years that I've lived here, which has been about 25 years, I don't ever remember any improvements being made to that property.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
What I put about 100,000 into the interior.
Did
I've
we?
had it about just about a year,
Okay,
and I replaced everything. I've replaced all the cooking equipment, everything like that on the inside. This
Yeah,
is
okay.
the most significant viewing that you had there was on the where it showed the driveway. This driveway that's on the left right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a fire lane that we're putting in, and this is, we're basically adding the building to the left, the part to the left there. It will be a to-go area. Right now, the building is probably 50 years old.
Yeah,
And I think it was probably a Dairy Queen at one time. We're not doing anything to the interior of the original facility now, so you'll have the historic nostalgia that when you come back, Jim, that you had 25 years ago.
well, but let me say, Lee, really, that's a plus because that building and that business is a landmark in our city. So I think that's a plus.
Thank you, Jim. I think it's one of the few operating viable businesses in that particular corridor of MLK.
Yeah,
And I'd sure hate to lose it up there because it's got the opportunity, hopefully, to expand some of the activity on MLK. We just haven't had a very good reaction of those property owners up there. And MLK is the best. It's the best street in San Angelo, Texas. Every time I go home, I drive down MLK. It's fabulous.
well, Lee, look at it this way. That is a catalytic project for MLK.
Thank you. I really hope it is. I think it's going to bring a lot more business in there.
No, I think your point's well made.
All right. Let's go on with it. Let's get them on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the three projects that were submitted in the north, and the staff is recommending the full funding amount for each project. As you stated, we would like to see some more detail in a landscaping plan for 1212 and 1218, so staff can follow up with those two particular projects, but we are recommending the full funding amount for each of the three projects that were submitted.
All right. On that comment, then I'm going to ask for a motion to approve those three projects as presented.
I so moved, but I have a question, Jim. I noticed
Okay.
when TIRZ started years ago, we didn't have, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was a 10% match. Why all of a sudden now we're requiring 25 and 35% match?
I believe that was a decision that was made by the board probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So they did change the percentage matches a little bit. In the north zone, any project that is under $10,000 does not require a match. Anything that's 10,000 and over requires a 25% match. And for the south zone, any project period does require a 25% match.
Okay.
Okay.
It seems like we got an awful lot of money in the north zone, and I'm There's a question for all you guys on the board that have been here a lot longer than I have. Would we be smart to reduce that funding requirement to encourage more grants, or we want to keep it 25? That's another discussion another day, but I just bring it up, and I'm gonna make a motion to approve these 3 grants.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Stephen, let me reply to you. I don't recall the changes that were made. I'm not even sure I was on the board when those changes were made, but that sure ought to be an agenda item at some point in the future for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor of these being funded as presented in the North Zone, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Shannon, keep running.
Okay, so we also did have 3 projects that were submitted in the South. We had 200 South Magdalene, which is the old Central Firehouse, for a funding amount requested of $61,418. We had 214 South Chadburn, which is Plateau Brewing Company, excuse me, and a funding amount requested of $29,280.75. And then 220 North Chadburn for $13,884.33. So as you can tell, the total amount of funding requested was actually less than what we have available in the South for once in many years. So the total amount of funding was $104,583.08, and then we have available funding in the amount of $233,429.
Okay.
So I will start with the Old Central Firehouse. So again, they're requesting funding in the amount of $61,418 with their 25% match of $20,500 for a total project cost of $81,918. So they are going to do upgrades to their facade to include the removal of a patio window and exterior door replacement, as well as a new outdoor patio with wheelchair and ramp accessibility and new landscaping. And this project meets 12 of the 14 criteria.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with some current photos. Okay, and then this particular area here where the air conditioners are will actually be where the new patio area will go in. And here are the after renderings. And I know that Jody and Michelle Babish, the owners of the Old Central Firehouse, are on the line. So if y'all have any questions for them or myself, we'd be happy to answer those.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I have 3 little grandsons that play in that park out there, and I need a shade to sit under. Any
Jody,
questions?
Michelle, are y'all there? Can you hear us?
I have a question. Is there still a city ordinance that prohibits consumption of alcoholic beverages adjacent to a city park? There used to be a long time ago.
It's a good question.
Because there's going to be a little beer drinking going on that patio, and it's right on the park.
Yeah, I would have to double check that with our ordinances, but I think our separations currently are only from schools, but I'm not sure it includes parks.
I checked it, not city park. I'm pretty sure they used to be, because Jimmy Rogers was park superintendent. He was an avid teetotaler, and he didn't like anybody drinking beer in his parks. So. Anyway, you might just check that.
Okay, that's a good question. Well, this is a project that, again, I'll use the term catalytic project. These folks have done a great job, and we need to continue to foster this thing.
Right.
I have a question, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Is the patio construction of concrete?
Good question.
The patio will be made of brick pavers. We've already gotten approval from DRC, or the DRC, and one of the restrictions was everything had to be made out of non-flammable material.
Okay.
Okay.
But in the rendering, it looks like some sort of concrete platform that's up high. Is that not what the plan is?
No, everywhere where the patio, the actual surface of the patio will be brick pavers. And
Okay.
then what you see with that's brown, that'll be block. And then the railing will be metal railing.
Okay.
Okay.
How will it be? Will it be high off the ground or will it be?
Yeah,
low?
it's actually 2 levels. It'll be probably 2 feet off the ground in the front and then a little bit higher in the back
Okay.
Good.
to match the existing patio that's there, which is about 3 feet.
Okay.
Very
On
good.
the left-hand side, there's stairs that go down into the park, also from the patio.
Yeah, I'll need those stairs so I can get down there to separate those boys if I have to.
Yeah, we just think this would be a great addition. We get so many people that want to have their kids play out in the park, and this, I think, just this being on the backside of the building. I mean, we get asked 10 times a day, when this project's gonna get done. So we're hoping and excited that we can get to do it.
It's a good job. Okay, Shannon.
Right. Okay, next project is at 214 South Chadbourn. This is going to be Plateau Brewing Company. They're asking funding in the amount of $29,280.75 with a match, 25% match of $9,760.25 and a total project cost of $39,041. Their summary of work includes the installation of a new fire sprinkler and alarm system. And as you all might recall, this is one of the few interior incentives that TIRZ can actually cover. So this particular project meets 4 of 14 of the criteria. So we have some current interior photos. And we did not require them to provide the after photos as far as the fire sprinkler system, since that's pretty self-explanatory. But I also know that Michael Choate is on the line here if y'all have any questions for him or myself.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
All right.
What good deal?
Okay. All right, let's go to the last one.
All right, final project is at 220 North Chadbourn. This is going to be Roots. They're requesting funding in the amount of $13,884.33, with their 25% match being in the amount of $4,628.11 and a total project cost of $18,512.44. So they are looking to do upgrades to their facade to include a new illuminated sign, demolition materials, as well as the installation of new windows and doors and new paint panels. And this project meets 5 of the 14 criteria. And here's the building today. And then their after rendering.
Yeah. Looks nice.
And also Lori Padilla, the applicant for this particular project, is also on the call if you have any questions for her.
Okay, any questions, board members? Okay, Shannon, what's your recommendation?
So just like the projects in the north, we are requesting a funding amount to approve the funding amount in the full amount for each of the projects. So that would be a total of $104,583.08. And again, we have available funding of $233,429.
Excellent. All right, let's have a motion and a second, and then we'll discuss it. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question on Roots. I mean,
All right, sir.
What they're asking for is just is money that I think they ought to be providing. I mean, that's just window. They're just just redoing the front. They're not doing anything. What is this? New business, startup business? What is it? Somebody help me out here. What this is?
This is a new business. It's been, I would say, for a year. And we're looking at adding the windows to open up, to look more inviting for customers. And we're going to be doing some painting. And I think, I don't have my paperwork in front of me, but anyway, I think that would be more inviting to the customers, is to have that windows. It's right now there's tent on there, so it kind of doesn't, it's hard to tell if we're open, even though we have like signage, we're also the signage as well above the storefront. So that's pretty costly.
With all due respect.
Right now we don't have, right now it's just like painted.
So
it's supposed to be like
I
illuminated.
don't see any increased value to the building by just adding doors and windows, which you already have right now. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay, well, I think that it'll look, it'll be a nice improvement to downtown.
Well, I would add by the improvements to the facade and making it much more attractive, it might encourage some of your neighbors to do likewise up and down the street there. So
okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to be able to reflect that individuality of each business in downtown, because that's that eclectic spirit that brings people downtown when things look different and have their own personality.
I think Tony's making a good point. Looking at what it is now, it has a dated look, and now you're going to give it a modern facelift. So,
okay,
I think that'll help us. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the staff's recommendations to fully fund the requested amounts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, let it be done. Shannon, let me say to you, and you and I have had some discussions, but these requests today are very uplifting, because I really feel like that we as a board, we've been given an opportunity to do what we signed on to do. And that's to give grants to folks that are deserving, and so I think you did a good job, and I'm going to walk away from this meeting feeling really good.
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Well, we appreciate you and your staff. Good job.
If I can make
All right.
one last comment.
Go ahead. Yes.
Just to let the applicants know, since everybody's on the line, so we will be taking these projects to the February 16th City Council meeting for their final ratification. They typically go on the consent agenda, but I will follow up with you all after that meeting and let you know the final decision from City Council.
Okay. Good comment. All right. Mr. James, you've been waiting all day for this. Director's report.
Yeah, I just have a couple of quick things. You all may remember our office assistant, Cherie Guidry, who was the secretary to the TIRZ board. And she has moved to San Antonio. And so I think many of you have met Brian Fox. He's our new office assistant, and he will be serving this board as well, just like Cherie did. So I just wanted to make that announcement so that you all know who he is. If you see an email or a phone call from Brian, you'll know who he is.
Yeah, John, let me interject. I'm glad you said that. I had that written down to make a comment about Brian, and he's been most helpful to me, and we want to welcome him to our group. So thank you for saying that.
Sure. The only other thing I have is just, I feel like a broken record, but every meeting I'll just remind you, we're still doing meetings virtually, and it looks like that will be the case for the foreseeable future. As soon as that changes, we will let you all know. But right now, I think most of the city's boards and commissions are still meeting virtually. The city council is meeting in person, but we will continue to meet virtually as long as the governor's order allows it, or unless the city council directs us differently. So again, we'll let you know if that changes, but for now, you can assume that future meetings will be virtual. And the other thing is you may have known our last meeting was August. You may have seen that we had a number of meetings that have not been held. We'll continue to let you know before meetings come up, but if there's no items for that meeting, we don't want to just have a meeting to meet, but we'll let you know in advance of upcoming meetings if we'll need to have that meeting or not.
Let me add to that, John, and so the board knows that John and his staff, they always check with me and ask me what I think we need to be doing, and you need to know that I agree with John. I don't want us meeting just to say that we met. And the type of agenda and the items that we cover today, that's what we signed on to do. And we're all busy, and you know, this COVID deal is still a real threat to all of us. I know all of us have friends or family members that have been affected by it, and we will continue to have for some time. So it's out of respect for you as friends and for your health and whatever, we'll be very cautious in what we do. So thank you for saying that, John.
Yeah, and that's all I had.
All right, we have item number 12. Our next meeting date's February 23rd. And we will keep you posted on that. And we look forward to seeing all of you again. Let me say to all of you, be safe and be well. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion for an adjournment?
Second.
That's always the fastest motion in the agenda. All right, I will take that. We're not even going to vote on that. We're just going to adjourn. So I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate all of you.
You too.
Thank you.
Brian, you need to stop the live stream.
All right.